In this video, we're going to be studying the building blocks of all mathematics and other things, the idea of logic. So this is a brief introduction into what a logical statement is, talking a little bit about truth values, and then how we can put logical statements, simple logical statements together. So, as usual, some terminology. So a statement is a declarative sentence that is either true or false. So you might not know the truth value of the statement, but you know that there is one. And then the validity, so whether it's true or false, this is called its truth value. Okay, so some possible statements, because I'm in Victoria, I cheer for the Vancouver Canucks. So a statement could be the Vancouver Canucks are a team in the National Hockey League. Okay, this would be a true statement. Okay, if you don't know that, that's okay. But that would be a true statement. You could have statements that are not true, okay, that may seem silly. Okay, an apple is a vegetable. Okay, so we're hopefully comfortable that an apple is a fruit, not a vegetable. So this statement has the truth value false. Okay, but you can see that these things are either true or false. So we're going to be talking about logical statements in general. So we might not always know what the statements are. So in that case, we discuss all of the possible truth values for the simple statements and then use those to find the truth value for the more compound statement. Some non-examples, or one non-example, is something like do your homework. Okay, so this is not a statement because it doesn't have a true or false value. It's more of a command than a statement. If you said, I did my homework, then it would be a statement because that can be either true or false. Okay, so you want to be careful about these things. Logic is not something that we just use in math class. You use it every day, hopefully accurately or properly. So when you're talking to people, especially when you're writing papers, so when you're trying to prove a point, you should be using a logical argument. So we naturally connect statements using what we call connectives, okay? And the common ones and an or come up a lot. Implications also we see a lot, so that's if something, then something else. Sometimes we negate statements. Okay, so you can put statements together. They don't have to mean much. So let's say the Canucks are a team, are not a team in the NHL. Oops. Or an apple is a vegetable. Okay, so I've combined these two statements. I've also added in this not into my first one. So that's some ways that we can put these things together. So a compound statement is formed by combining these simple statements using these connective words. So just to note, we don't use logic to determine the truth value of a simple statement. Okay, so that should be like known or something you can look up. So what we do is we use logic we use the truth values of the simple statements, okay, whether we know them or not, and then we use those to find the truth value of the compound statement, okay, using the rules of logic. So let's talk about these connectives. So we need to, so often we don't know the statement. So we use variables to represent what the simple statements are. So these are only for simple statements. Okay, so normally we use letters P and Q and R, sometimes S if we need so. You can use any letter really, but those ones are the ones that are commonly seen in logic. So we won't necessarily know the truth value of these, but we might. It might be given. Okay, but so these are, we don't have to know what the statement is at all times, because we want to talk about how how the logic implies the truth value for the compound statement. Okay, so conjunction is one way that we can put two simple statements together. This is like the and. Okay, and the way that we write it, so it's written, so it would be P and then a little triangle upside down, I don't know, hat, I guess, Q. Okay, and you read this P and Q. Okay, so that's the conjunction. The disjunction is like the or. Okay, and it's written with a V. So you don't want to use V or U probably for your letters. So this is why P and Q are more common. So this is like that, and we read it as P or Q. And I should add in brackets here, or both. Okay, so it doesn't, it's not an exclusive or. We're going to see that down here. So this allows for both of them to happen. You need at least one of them to happen. So this might sound familiar to you from the first chapter we did. This is similar to a intersection, the conjunction, and the or seems similar to the union for sets. So in set theory, they are similar. So here, the statement P and Q means that P happens and Q happens. Okay, here P or Q. This is P or Q or both. Okay, so we allow for the or both to still happen. The negation, so we just use the word not usually, is written like that. Okay, so the twiddle P, and you read that as not P. Okay, now you might also see, so the conjunction, disjunction are always written like that. The negation has other ways to write. So sometimes people write it with that symbol, or sometimes they put a bar above. Okay, so if you're looking other places, you might see it either of those ways, but in our textbook we normally use the, I don't know what you call this, I call it a twiddle. Okay, now exclusive or, is like the or, but and not both. So it doesn't allow for both things to happen. Okay, and it's written P with a plus sign with a circle around it, Q. So you would read this as P or Q, but not both. Okay, implication has two compound statement, or two simple statements. So it's if something, then something else is sort of the way it goes. So it's written P with an arrow Q. So you would read that as if P, then Q. Okay, and then we have the biconditional. So this is like an if and only if. So it's written with an arrow both ways between P and Q. Okay, and you read as P if and only if Q. Okay, so that's some ways that we can combine these things. And then obviously we can combine these things together as well. So when there's lots going on, normally I'm going to use brackets to emphasize the order of operations, but if you're looking elsewhere, they might not. So just remember the order should be, so you always do brackets first. Okay, so that's normal. And then the negation, and then the and the or. So these are, and I guess the exclusive or, so all the sort of those things, and then the implications. Okay, so this is like 1, 2. These guys are all kind of similar, as are these. Okay, but I'm gonna use brackets. So on anything that in our class, and most people do, but just in case. So let's do an example. So suppose we have these statements. So P is a statement, it rained today. Q is a statement, the ground is wet. And R is a statement, I had lunch outside. So let's write these in English. Okay, so using these statements here. So we want not Q or R. Okay, so not Q would be the ground is not wet. And then this statement here is the or statement. So or R, I had lunch outside. Okay, so we have this not, and we also have this or. Okay, now let's try another one. So here, see the bracket? So this thing, implication this thing. So that's if this, then this. Okay, so that's going to be if, and then P and Q, or sorry, P or Q. So if it rained today, or the ground is wet, then I did not have lunch outside. Okay, so here's our implication. So if, then. Okay, so it's if this stuff, then this other stuff. And then the first stuff was P or Q, so that's this statement or this statement. And then then not R, so that's not, I did not have lunch outside. Okay, so that way is normally easier. So the harder way is to have a statement and try to turn it into notation. Okay, so try to turn it into the symbols. So let's try that a couple of times. So it did not rain, it did not rain today. Or the ground is not wet, okay, but not both. So I see the or, but I also see the but not both. So I'm thinking that I need to use an exclusive or, right? Because they're or, but not both of them happening. Now, it did not rain today, so that's not P. The ground is not wet, that is not Q. So this looks like it's going to be not P, not Q, with an exclusive or between them. Okay, so I see the or and the not both. So that's telling me the exclusive or. And then these knots here are giving me the symbol inside here. Okay, let's try another one. If it rained today, then the ground is wet. Okay, so I'm seeing the if then, so I'm thinking I need an implication. It rained today is P, and the ground is wet is Q. So I think this is actually just P arrow Q. So if P, then Q. Okay, so that's a quick introduction into logic and simple statements and combining them into compound statements.